Back.
We are.
Anyone out there in Jonnyland live land? Hope you're tuning in and hanging out with us for a few minutes at least. It's a Saturday night here in Newport. It's a little gloomy out. It was raining before, but so it's a nice night to be in and hang out with some friends, as long as you have them. And once again, we're here, Jonnyland live from the satellite area. We're in Newport, Rhode Island, at the Newport Harbor Hotel and Marina, and it's me, Jonny B. And of course, to my diagonal apex angle is the very powerful and attractive man, Gerry I.
That would be me. That would be me.
It is still you. It was always him.
That's right.
So tonight we're going to be hanging out and celebrating the 30th anniversary of a classic film from 1988. Everybody's favorite inept detective. And I know some of you immediately say, what about Clouseau? But this is better than Clouseau because, gall darn it, it's Leslie Nielsen as Frank Drebin, the lieutenant detective sergeant from Police Squad, which was a very short-lived television show back in 1981. I think they only made 6 episodes. And I think the reason for the creation of the Police Squad series, which nobody at the time, I think, thought would go anywhere. Airplane, the movie, was pretty hot at that point. It was a great comedy for the Zucker brothers and the Jim Abrams. So, and right after the Police Squad series, and it was, I guess, like a trial run of a, Dragnet-y type of cop show, but it featured Frank Drebin as this inept but somehow always gets the job done detective from a fictional. Well, Police Squad was a special division of the police department,
Right.
according to the mayors. And so that was headed by Frank Drebin, played by the unbelievably funny Leslie Nielsen, who's probably, God bless that guy, he was one of the funniest guys to play a straight funny man.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
All the humor would be there, and he'd be the eye of the hurricane kind of thing, where all this horrible thing is happening around him because he did it.
That's right.
And somehow
So,
he manages to win.
yeah, so part of my thoughts on the TV series as well is I don't think the network gave it enough time to find its audience. So I think part of what happened is after it was off the air and people started watching videotapes of it and all that, I think that helped to build up that following
The
for it,
audience.
too.
Yeah, and Leslie Nielsen had been a star for a long, long time, even before, almost 30 years before
Right.
Police Squad came around. But when The Naked Gun came out, we hadn't really seen Leslie Nielsen. I mean, well, listen, when The Naked Gun came out, I was 17 or 18 years old.
Right.
But when Police Squad was released on television, I was 11 or 12, and so it was like the last thing in the world that I'd even think about watching.
Right.
So I didn't watch it. And then somehow, I think in college, we got into the Police Squad stuff because that's how we did some of our unit videos. We did those freeze frame things that Police Squad was known for, and a lot of those other Drebinisms that you call it Drebinism, where I could say anything from the film to you and you're gonna get it. But I guess, but my favorite, of course, is, well, it's not a well with 3 periods, like, because there's something else to say. It's, well, done.
Done.
Just an acknowledgement that something has happened. It's like, speaker, Mr. Drebin? Yes, it is. That was the dumb comedy that made Police Squad and The Naked Gun perfect laughter cannons, basically. I mean, it was just all throughout the movie. And there were 3 of them.
Yep.
And all throughout the movie, he was, almost in every scene, he was doing all kinds of things. It was such a great physical comedy. And so it renewed, the funniness of the movie renewed, at least for me, my desire to find those 6 original episodes, watch them and understand kind of the birth of Drebin.
Yeah, exactly. Where he came from and different take on the types of shows that they were making
Think
fun
of
of.
something. Hold on. Where it comes from? I mean, there was, remember Ford Fairlane, the
Yes,
movie with
yes.
the Andrew Dice Clay. So there's a scene where maybe you remember, he falls off the Columbia Records building, and he like bounces on different awnings, and and he's standing there, and he's, whoa, whatever, and this couple from wherever comes in, like they see it happen, and Ford is just standing there straightening himself out, and these two yokels, they're like, we're from South Carolina. And Dice just looks at him and like, yeah, I'm from my dad's dick. What else? So long story short, if I may. Yeah. Okay. When you said finding out where Drebin comes from, the where he comes from just triggered a thing with me for that 5-minute long thing about for the adventures of Ford Fairlane, which I like.
So much for staying structured tonight.
Well, we've hardly.
I know we have.
I have
intro.
copious.
Just our intro.
I have copious notes, and
that means lots.
That means a lot of shit I've written. I got 4 pages of notes on this movie alone.
Wow.
But all fairness, if I say this squarely with peace and love, a lot of what I have here that I wanted to talk about is just lines from the film and scenes from the film, things like that. So. Do you want to just pick the movie apart? How do you want to do it? Because
I
listen.
guess so, but we got to start though. Before we start, you need to ask. Do you want to use a little dinghy?
I did that at the press conference. You want to take a dinghy, Frank? It's the best joke in the film.
And I just ruined it. So that's okay.
Thanks, Gerry. All right. So.
Keep your anger away.
All right. Keep my anger. Great. Have that extra large Sicilian pizza, please. You. So, let's talk about The Naked Gun. Like I said before, it was released in 1988. It starred Leslie Nielsen, George Kennedy. Let's talk about George for 2 seconds, because he's another guy like Leslie Nielsen. Well before he was doing this comedy business, he was an established actor from long, long ago, and so. I think there's an enhanced air of credibility to the film right out of the gate, because you have George Kennedy, who was in Cool Hand Luke, for Christ's sakes, Creepshow 2. Yeehaw.
I
but
forgot about that.
Right?
Yeah, he is.
So, but he was in it, and he played Frank's partner Ed Hocken, who was kind of like the big oafish.
He's like the.
He's the straight man to the straight man.
Yeah, he's a straight man to the straight man.
Right. And he's the one that said, "You want to take a dinghy, Frank?" And Frank, being so clueless. No, I did that at the press conference. And if you've seen the movie, like you were advised to, you'd have known that joke. Anyway, so you have George Kennedy with him.
Which, on that note too, though, because George Kennedy, along with Leslie Nielsen, were both strong actors, dramatic actors. Leslie Nielsen was the leading man type in several movies. And suddenly they come around to do this comedy, and they're like, it's good. It's like,
it's almost unheard of.
Yeah, but
at the time,
they're just so perfect at doing it. It's like this hidden talent they didn't know about.
So I mentioned Clouseau from the Pink Panther films, and you could, I think you could probably draw a lot of parallels and a lot of similarities. Clouseau, the bumbling French detective, thinks that he's getting the job done and everything is great, but meanwhile he's destroying homes and setting cars on fire and killing birds and all these things. Like he's clueless and he's inept, and yet somehow he solves the case and becomes beloved. Drebin, I think, is a completely different but very, very same version of Clouseau. Frank has clearly been a straight man all his life. He's a no nonsense, by the books, hardened detective. Clouseau was silly, and I think he sort of knew it but didn't care because he was too cool.
Yeah, that's I think too. The big difference between Clouseau and Drebin is that Clouseau had an ego. He thought he was great.
Yeah.
After a while, began to think he was as great as everyone said he was, when all he was doing was being inept. Drebin doesn't
Because
have
that was the norm for him.
Yeah. You don't have that with Drebin. He's just a workaday
Drebin.
guy trying to do his job.
Right. So in addition to Leslie and George, you had the female lead, Jane Spencer, played by Priscilla Presley.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful woman. I reserve judgment on currently. But back in the late 80s, she was a very beautiful girl.
Yeah.
And Elvis's widow, obviously. And I also think that as famous as she was for being Elvis's wife, I think the Naked Gun put her on the map as an actress and as a known name. You know, of course, people in similar demographics to us would say if you saw Priscilla Presley's name, you would think first Elvis's wife.
Right.
And then, oh, wasn't she in the Naked Gun with that guy? And so she had a name because of someone else. She had a name because of herself.
Mm-hmm.
And she's still around. I don't think she's acting too much, but she's still around.
Yeah, I think she really was able to make herself famous for what she could do versus being Mrs. Elvis Presley. The Naked Gun movies.
Sorry, I'm just adjusting some technical business right here.
Probably my fault.
Now it is. You're clipping them. All right.
Just learned that term yesterday. It's fun to do.
Clip. Great.
Clipping the mic.
Clipping the mic. You do that under the blankies. So.
Does not sound like fun.
No.
Clipping.
Yeah. There was a joke that I could have done right there, but it was politically incorrect, and I'm trying to make this something that kids could see. Because kids want to watch The Naked Gun. Stupid. That was a dumb thing to say. Because you're 6. Can I watch Frank? Who's the guy with the white hair, Mom? Can I the penis gun or the gun of somebody's naked? Yeah, that happens with 6-year-olds. I suppose it could. Anyway.
Yeah, but you just sound like a creepy old man.
So, well, sure. The jury's been out on that for a long time. Thank you. Hey, good night. So let's say this is a two-edged sword, I think, because we have sort of the third wheel of this completely fakakta vehicle that is Frank Drebin, Ed Hocken. The third wheel there is Nordberg.
Yeah.
And Nordberg was another cop, another detective, and on the Police Squad TV show 6 or so years earlier, he was played by Peter Lupus, who was from... Fuck, I thought you knew, because I don't... but
he was in the remake of Mission Impossible, I believe.
Was that it? I thought he was like on the Mod Squad or something. Peter Lupus. Can someone Google that, please?
Yeah, please. We'd like to know. So, I'll try not to rant about it, but Peter Lupus is the greatest Nordberg.
Why?
Just the way he would interact, or actually not interact with Drebin. He was his partner, he was supposed to be doing what he wanted. There's always this disconnect with what he was supposed to be doing with Frank, or what was supposed to be doing for Frank. He'd either go overboard with it or completely miss the point. When they rent the little key store to try to stop the criminals who are stealing money for, getting payments from everyone. Right. He actually
that took a long time, didn't it?
I wonder why that is. But he actually runs the key store instead of doing the... No, not my little key store. Yeah. So just those kinds of things when he puts the tap on the phone. He was just, he did it deadpan, and I think he was a perfect, not foil, but companion for Drebin, in the sense that just you could see him doing stuff in the background while Drebin's doing his stuff in the foreground. Right. And it just kind of all
It was kind of hard sometimes to figure out who to watch.
Right.
But the other thing, I think Peter Lupus's Nordberg, I think, sought Frank's approval and attention. He dressed in a suit also, and he figured, he would get in on that freeze frame at the end,
That's right.
holding the folders or something. but I think he was trying to kind of emulate Frank, because he was always doing everything in such earnest.
Right.
You know. So, but then you kind of flash forward. Is anybody there? Yum, 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 yum.
Hello?
Insert the sound of rolling tumbleweeds. Anyway, so you fast forward 6 or so years, and The Naked Gun comes out, and Nordberg is now played by O.J. Simpson. And truth be told, O.J. had a little acting behind him by the time this movie came out. He was certainly on TV plenty of times. But to address the 800-pound whatever it is in the room, so he was, you know, the O.J. Simpson murders back in '94, and he fell from grace probably faster than Mel Gibson, or, you know, any of these other celebrities nowadays that just, you know, shoot themselves in the foot and wind up in the bad graces of everybody. And
Sorry.
no, he you know, the murders happened. He was, you know, the center of the trial of the century and all that stuff. And at the same time, you had all these fans from everywhere, not just Naked Gun fans, but from everywhere. And it was really kind of one of those first amazingly big celebrity scandal things that came out in the public. And a lot of people feel, however they feel, obviously, about whether he was guilty, whether he was innocent. He was found not guilty, which doesn't mean innocent, but it wasn't a guilty. So, and that's its own snowball of a crazy story. But he was a part of all 3 Naked Gun movies, and I think a good part. I liked him very much at the beginning of this film.
Right. If I think of it, because honestly, I may have seen some of Naked Police Squad when I was a kid, but I didn't remember it by the time Naked Gun came out. And watching him, it's a completely different Nordberg. Anyway, it's Nordberg.
Right. It's not Nor,
Nordberg.
N-O-R-B-E-R-G.
So,
there's a D in there.
Yeah, they changed the name a little bit too. He becomes the pratfall guy. Nordberg
Right.
is the pratfall. He's the guy,
The slapstick,
slapstick
almost.
part of it. Yeah.
Right. Because
Yeah,
do you think The Naked Gun as a series, of the 3 movies, even the 6 TV episodes, do you think it was slapstick comedy, or do you think it was something else?
Well, there's a little bit of slapstick, but I think the jokes came from taking what was expected. Think of Nordberg's at the beginning when he's shot,
Right.
and then taking it to an extreme, whether a silly extreme or just not stopping it when they should. I think a lot of it is the jokes and are literal. Drebin has trouble not thinking literal, I think, at times.
Yeah.
So it comes across that way. The jokes become literal.
But if after seeing the movies, and would you recast the role of Nordberg? And then I want to move on to the bad guy.
If we keep the movie as written, no, I would not actually. He does do a good job in that part.
One of my favorite scenes is a scene in the hospital.
Yeah.
After he gets shot and scalded and paint gets on him, which is a great scene.
Falls on the cake.
Right. And, you know, leans, gets his pea coat. Oh no! But it's when he gets smacked in the bear claw with that shrill scream.
Yeah.
And he falls off the. I mean, listen, the guy's a fucking murderer. I got no doubts. Whatever. It's my podcast. You don't believe me, then whatever. Read a book. But I like him in this film, and it's really hard not to when the physical comedy of that scene and the scene in the hospital when they fold him in the bed and then Drebin basically 69s him and all that other stuff. I mean, you know, it's true. Watch the movie. I'm not. It's true. But you know when. He's sitting up in the bed dazed, and he gets a bottle, and he lies back. It was great comic timing.
It was, and then the interaction with Drebin. I told you 3 times today alone. My favorite part, which I completely forgot until I watched it again the other night, is when Norberg's trying to explain to Drebin that he was almost figured out who was selling the heroin. He's trying to explain that. He goes, heroin, and Drebin looks at him and says, "Oh,
that's a tall order. You have to give me a day or two on that."
Yeah, and just that because Norberg was playing it straight.
Right.
O.J.
He was
Simpson was
unintentionally
actually
funny.
and it became unintentionally funny.
I love you. I love you too, Norbert. What else? What was the thing? And what did he say? Oh, we'll take a trip. We'll go sailing.
Yeah.
Well, whatever he said.
Yeah, something about the boat. Yeah.
Boat. Yeah. Harbor. Yes, we'll get a boat from the harbor.
So actually, when I look at it that way, no, because it's not the same Norberg who was in the TV show.
Right.
It was a completely different rewritten Norberg, and he did a very good job.
So, the heavy, as you would call it, the bad guy, was played by perfection, I think.
Oh, I agree.
Or to perfection, thank you. Played by Ricardo Montalban.
Again, another older actor, been around a long time.
And in relatively serious roles. I mean, Fantasy Island, he played Mr. Rourke.
Yeah.
But it was lighthearted, but it wasn't a send-up
Right,
role.
not at all.
But even so, he plays Victor Ludwig, Vincent Ludwig. Whoa!
Vincent Ludwig.
Whatever. Yeah, so Vincent Ludwig. He was the perfect choice.
Yeah, he's a perfect foil for Drebin to go up against. Well, yeah, to go up against the way that Drebin goes about it. But yeah, he was a perfect foil for him as the villain.
The way that the character is established as bad, obviously, is well at the beginning of the movie when he appears out of the shadows, when OJ is getting his ass kicked, and then you see a hand come into the spotlight on the ground and picks up the gun and kill him, and it's all done.
Yeah, because just by that, he doesn't shoot him, so it's just showing you he's not only evil, but he's the one guy in charge.
Right. He's the main man. So when Drebin meets Ludwig in his office,
sorry,
it's one fiasco after the next. From the moment Drebin walks in, he's already clueless, but he's clueless because he's so focused on finding the person responsible for his friend's injuries.
Yep.
So as soon as he walks in the door, Ludwig turns around and extends his hand in something and basically says, "Lieutenant Drebin." That's my Ricardo Montalban impression. Mr. Drebin. Why does he sound like, what's his name? Martin Landau as Bela Lugosi. Lieutenant Drebin. One, the Chinese are fighting fish. How does that even happen? Welcome to my office. I am Vincent Ludwig. Why do I look like Gilbert Godfrey? Welcome to my office. Jane Spencer, please show Mr. Drebin anything in the file room that he wants. But I digest. So that first meeting in the office is hysterical, but you can see how bad Montalban's character is. But Drebin is too busy getting in his own hot water to really pay attention to really the sanctimonious attitude as Ludwig's looking at the window. Just look out there at all the cities.
This used to all be orange groves.
So and his own brand of overacting almost. It's like Shatnerian.
Yep.
I warn you, Drebin. Back off, or whatever the fuck he said.
Well, that's part of the reason it works so well, because Drebin is so dry and kind of almost understated in how he talks and acted. So here's the villain who's kind of overstated and kind of being a bit overboard. So I thought that worked well.
It did.
All this for a silly comedy.
Right. Oh, listen. The Naked Gun is, I think it's in the AFI's top 100 comedies. If it's not, it ought to be. I know Airplane's in there. But it's got an 87% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It's a movie that you don't have to be too old, you don't have to be too young, or born after a certain time. You know, oh, I was born in 1986, so why would I see a movie like that at 4 years old?
Where were the cell phones?
There were cell phones in '86.
No, I know, but it's not prevalent in a movie like
Right. Relevant.
Prevalent. Prevalently prevalent.
Right. So after that first meeting with Montalban, he introduces Drebin to Jane for the first time, because Jane's an employee of Ludwig. And so there have already been a ton of great jokes in the film, but you're getting to one that sort of transcends movies, because everybody knows it, and probably a lot of them know it even though they've never seen the film.
Yeah.
When Jane climbs up the ladder.
But to kind of preface that, because you're right, everyone knows that. But suddenly, Drebin's turned into this hardboiled detective who's given his own voiceover, this whole long voiceover talking about her. You know, and all of that. So almost this, it's not serious by any means, but almost this kind of going down this weird noir path.
Yeah, well, because it's got the style of those 40s detective shows.
And then it jumps to the 12-year-old humor.
Which is good too.
Which is, it's a riot.
So the joke though, Priscilla Presley walks up the stairs on the ladder, and you see Drebin follow her legs as she goes up, and the classic, nice beaver, and then nonchalantly you hear from up there, Priscilla goes, "Thank you, I just had it stuffed," and for 3 seconds, maybe less, you're like, what the fuck did I just hear? What? And then she passes down the stuffed beaver, and it completely makes everything that Drebin said justifiable.
Yeah, he said nothing wrong.
This wasn't harassment at all. But it was great. So I mean, it's one of the best timed and best established.
Oh yeah.
Verbal back and forths.
And then it leads to the great non sequitur joke about her ankle bracelet.
Yeah, that was always something I was like, what does that even matter? What does it mean? Like, oh, is that down there again? So, now we haven't really gone in order. We've kind of jumped around the first part of the film, but the idea of the film is Drebin is trying to find this heroin dealer, and Priscilla Presley's character is unwittingly kind of drawn into it, but she falls in love with him, so they have this torrid affair, and
funny affair.
Funny, but torrid.
Yeah.
Remember those full body condoms? I mean, listen,
yeah.
making sure there's no fluid exchange.
The montage.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially going to see Platoon and coming out in hysterics.
No, I'm sure we'll be getting to it, but at the same time.
I don't know. I'm almost done.
Oh.
There's nobody here anyway.
I've been done for 5 minutes. Yeah. At the same time, the other thread of the film, the Queen visited.
Right. So, Police Squad was given the honor of being in charge of the security for the Queen Elizabeth's visit to Los Angeles coming up. And so there was a big press conference at City Hall, the mayor and other distinguished guests. I see somebody's there, but again, like last night, no binocular vision. I got superpowers, but that ain't one of them. And so the mayor holds a press conference, and Drebin is there, ready to give some remarks. The mayor says, "Lieutenant Drebin." He gets up, and his microphone isn't working, his clip-on mic. And so one of the other representatives says, "Here, use my radio mic." And no big deal. Frank sets it up, and that now resounds through the entire chamber. And so he makes his remarks, and then he ducks out.
Well, his remark about no matter how silly we may find the fact that the country has a queen, We'll do our best to protect her here.
And everybody else is. You know, it's funny. Like, everybody else knows, recognizes, and reacts to what was obviously a horrible thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
And Drebin doesn't get it.
No, he just totally doesn't even.
He's like the most politically incorrect guy that there is before there was political incorrectness. So Frank gets up and he says his quick remarks, and he ducks out then to go to the bathroom, forgetting, of course, that the radio mic is still on and picking up every noise. So between remarks that the mayor is making back out in the chamber, and you cut back and forth to Drebin from behind, from about the waist up, having this tremendously long and loud and splashy pee. And the sound is, it's like, you know, a hard running tap of water, you know. And everybody out in this other room is like, what the hell, you know, and the mayor is aghast and whatever. And Drebin keeps, you know, he's like dancing around and whoops, you know, peeing on the floor or whatever. So these are the guys that are protecting the queen. And so, where were we? Beaver, nice beaver.
Protecting the queen. Going to check out the site where Nilberg was shot.
Taking a dinghy.
Taking a dinghy.
Now, I had, I even wrote, down at the harbor, want to take a dinghy? The other thing down at the harbor, where Drebin is looking for information,
Yeah.
and he sees the guy, you know, like the shady character on the pier, and who he has to pay off. Now, this was a character that was present in almost every one of the Police Squad shows, the episodes. Frank needed information, he would pay them,
Yeah.
and then the informant would ask a question, and Frank would be the guy just a minute ago not knowing what to say, and he'd say, I don't know about that, and then the informant would give him the money. Frank would take the money and he'd tell the answer, and it was a back and forth for a couple of minutes, which are so stupid,
Right.
but it's really funny.
The way they do it, and again, it's because they do it
Right.
straight face.
Exactly.
Like it's.
There really isn't anything in the film that I think in their world is comedic at all.
Not at all. It's what it is.
I think it's as hardcore as, you know,
They are hardcore cops
Yeah.
doing their job.
grizzled
Serious.
old
Yeah.
veteran detectives.
Yep, doing their job as seriously as possible.
Right, and they just don't get it. But the informant thing was sort of a carryover from the series, and once Drebin gets some of that information, he then starts to think somehow perhaps Ludwig is involved in the plot to assassinate Queen Elizabeth when she comes here to Los Angeles for her visit. So now Drebin kind of goes on his course to intercept Ludwig and try to subtly figure out what his game is. You know, but we know that Ludwig has been hired by Papschmier to kill the Queen, so we already know it as the audience. We're just now trying to figure out how Drebin is going to find out, and he finds out basically by breaking into his office. And so I know that it's one of your favorite parts, so tell it.
Well, he finds a signed note stating $20 million to kill the Queen. So he has all he needs there for evidence to convict him, and of course he has trouble reading it, so he's using his lighter to read it. He sets the paper on fire, drops the paper in the wastebasket, tries to put out the fire, sticks his foot in it, his foot gets stuck. He goes, turns on the piano player, and then goes and starts knocking down all of his priceless antiques. It's just funny with the piano playing music in the background, and he's catching all of these things. Suddenly he sees the fire spreading to one of the one of the paintings, so he drops. He actually gets up and knocks over the stand with all of the priceless antiques.
Right.
And then he ends up breaking the painting anyway. You can take over your favorite part with, concrete dildo.
Why does everybody assume that my favorite thing is a concrete dildo? It's definitely not. Definitely.
Well, it's one of the top 10, right?
It's in the top 10, but it's not my favorite, for crying out loud. One love. So, Drebin then kind of escapes Ludwig's office by climbing out onto the ledge of the building, high up above the street. Really? One comment. One.
Shall I go read it?
Yeah. Yeah, read it. Let's see. Read it. Let's see what's going on. Who's it from?
Chris Crowley,
You motherfucker.
Faggot,
What is he?
Faget. Annette Del Vecchio Harrington is watching.
Well, I love you, Annette, because I miss you. Say hi to Andy. What did Chris say? Faggots?
Faggot? Faget.
What are you, French? Come on. Don't speak to me in that tone of manner. You just wish you were here. Your mom said you were going to be up there. I spoke to her today. She watched last night. She might have watched it today, but she watched last night today. I'll see you in an hour. Back? Get it? The one person who's going to know that doesn't even have Facebook. Anyway, so Drebin gets pulled out or escapes outside on the ledge, and now he's trying to kind of get around the building to some degree of safety. And as he's kind of feeling his way across the ledge, there's a woman who lives in the building who's come to her window to see what's all the commotion, because now the fire department is down below, and because Ludwig's office is on fire. So she's standing out. Now, listen, let's be fair. She should have put something on before she went to stand at her window, and she had big boobies. And so, which was made evident when Drebin is blindly reaching around to try and grab something. He gets a handful of boob that, and they, of course, they put in the old jalopy car sound, the horn, whatever. That's my jalopy sound, okay? Fuckface. It's. What do you think I am? You think I'm like a fucking computer of sound effects? Anyway. Beep boop. So he falls into this lady's apartment, and she's horrified and frightened. So she runs to her phone and she's calling the police. Oh, I forgot. Drebin, as he's going around, there are these stone, you still call them gargoyles? They were men and women with anatomic accoutrement. So the guy, I guess the sculptor really was having fun, because he sculpted all these guy statues with huge fucking eggplant cocks. Face down, like, almost, maybe like, maybe there was like a little chub. I don't even know what kind of fucking Art Deco this is. It's decorated in early penis. Okay. Hey, Chris Crowley, you still there? Okay. So, and there's girl statues too, but it's not funny if because he just grabbed a real one. Who gives a shit about a stone one? But so he loses his balance and he grabs onto one of these stone meat hammers and finally pulls himself up on the thing. And as he's standing up, his shoulder brushes against the concrete cock, and it turns it from 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock. High noon. And then it breaks off and he falls into the lady's room, and he's got this. I mean, the thing was so massive. This massive concrete member
And he's all out of breath.
And he's out of breath. His hair's messed. He's and then you see this poor woman on her phone trying to get on her phone, and Frank's coming at her like he's going to take this huge rock cock and just jam it home, you know, like home, you know. And then he looks at the thing like he's like, what is she looking at? Oh, and he throws it behind his back. Like, now it's going to be okay. You dumb bastard.
And that's what the whole issue was. That's
Right.
the thing.
Oh. But I like that, though. It's a... Man, we are jumping everywhere. I had this all worked out. Play me off, Johnny. I have... Oh, so we find out that the way that Ludwig wants to have the queen killed is by using what he calls sensory-induced hypnosis, and he has a little remote control, like a tile. You know, you press something and there's a signal somewhere else. So he's demonstrating to Pap Smear how this works. To say, you know, who would make a great assassin? Oh, somebody who doesn't know they're an assassin. So Ludwig presses the little button, and his secretary comes in or whatever, and he's, would you like some tea? Would you like some tea from Transylvania? So Charlotte, who is, I'm calling her Charlotte. It's Charlotte Zucker. It's David Zucker's mom, who also appears in all these other movies with him, or of his. So she picks up this gun and dry fires it, you know, like she's a zombie, you know, mindless, whatever. And then Ludwig presses the button again. The signal stops. She drops the gun. And would you like sugar, cream? Mm-hmm. Oh, there's a gun on the floor, Mr. Ludwig. That's okay, Dominique. Oh, welcome to Fantasy Island. So I like that scene too. Yeah.
Did we go over the lab scene? I thought that was before.
No, we didn't.
Because I think that doesn't that take place.
It of course, but listen, you're lucky I know up from down here. One is still just a one. Can you check? It's still him. Right? It's just him.
Yeah, that's it.
Is he even there? No.
I can't tell. I don't know if there's someone still watching because his picture's still there.
Who?
The videos.
No, next to the comment. No, he could be sleeping by now, and we can still just see that. Probably is still sleeping. All right, thanks, Pete. Oh, nope, there's a new. I saw that shit move.
Just come over.
Ah,
Thumbs up.
thank you.
No,
What?
no thumbs up.
You scared me. Don't say that. Thank you.
Should we start over?
Yeah, so it's the 30th anniversary of The Naked Gun, because I don't know how long you've been watching. So we had music playing before. Dun, 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 dun. I'm fast forwarding, okay? Yeah, we talked about who's in it. We talked about taking a dinghy. We talked about, nice beaver. We did that. Just trying to bring you up to speed. We,
To kill
O.J.
Pap
Simpson
Smear?
killed people. Newsflash.
To kill Pap Smear.
Pap Smear. There's a plot to kill the queen. Pap Smear is the client. Ludwig is the guy who's going to carry it out. I think that brings us up to
Pretty
speed,
much,
right?
yeah, pretty much.
Frank Drebin, good cop. Ed Hawkins, good cop. Nordberg, guilty. So, okay. The lab scene. Ted, the lab technician,
Same guy from the TV
is the
series.
same guy from the series, which is great. Ted Olson.
Mhm.
And he's kind of like the Q from James Bond. He gives Frank, there's like mustard from from the Cuban sandwich, which I gotta tell you, I think I could do better. But there's, yeah. Okay. So, wait. So we're jumping around, and Swedish Fish.
Oh my bad.
They won't know. So Ludwig tells Jane, "I think you should be friends with him, get to know him
I
better."
thought we were doing the Leipzig.
Okay, we're in the lab. Forget you heard that part. We're in the lab, and Ted is there and is showing Frank a couple of new gizmos, including the Swiss Army shoe, which, you know, is a big wingtip shoe, and he starts pulling things out from.
It starts cool with you tap it and the blade shoots out the front.
Right, like James Bond.
Like James Bond.
Seen it? Yeah.
And then Swiss Army shoe.
The Swiss Army shoe. We call it the Swiss Army shoe. Which it's great. And George Kennedy, Ed, picks it up and, you know, he starts, taking a look. And Drebin says something to Ted like, you know, we really have to be going. And Ted's like, oh, wait. Let me just show you one more thing. Check out these cufflinks. And Frank shoots his cuff. He says, you know, I could use a new pair of cufflinks. Like that's not even relevant.
Teddy, thank you.
Frank he doesn't know what he's being told.
So, ends up being a cufflink has a little dart in it that can knock someone out for a minute or so. So, it might come in handy at some point. So, Ted says, well, let me demonstrate it for you.
Let me show you. Let me demonstrate on Ed here.
Yeah, he shoots Ed in the neck, and
Ted, why? And he crumples to the ground in this horrible sound of just.
he's in the scene the whole time.
Right.
He's standing next to him, but because he's so involved in looking at the Swiss Army shoe, completely misses what they were talking about.
Okay. So
What was it? 40 seconds later, they finish the scene. And
they're talking about more things, and you see George Kennedy kind of staggered to his feet, like it was great continuity. It was so cool to just because you had to know behind the scenes, the director is basically saying, "Okay, George, count to 30, and then stand up."
Yep.
And it was just so good. And then, are we done with the lab?
Well, just one last thing. one last part. Your open eye.
Use your open eye. I don't see anything. You see, for a second, you think Ed gets it.
Yeah, but Ed doesn't even look. He just
Oh.
automatically says, use your
Use
so
your
he
open eye.
gets it. He understands him, but he doesn't get it.
So, okay.
Oh, God.
So we go back to.
Reggie Jackson.
We haven't seen him yet. We
No,
don't.
no.
We don't know anything about him yet.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
After the.
There's a scene where, so Ludwig wants Jane to kind of get to know Frank, keep tabs on him, because Ludwig kind of knows what time it is. Drebin, not really. So she kind of goes. Was there the thing in the office when she said no? That was later.
What's
Never
that?
mind. Can I interest you in a nightcap? No thanks. I don't wear them.
That was later on.
Okay.
But it's Drebin talks about how he, thinking about the case all day, gets lost.
Right. It's a voiceover. See him walking block to block, street to street, and all of a sudden he's doing hopscotch and then like skipping stones somewhere. And then he like winds up in this grassy area and you have all these jungle sound effects. And where the hell was I? He finally gets home. He sees that his apartment door is slightly ajar. So he goes.
I thought it was a door.
He goes into Drebin action mode. There's all this dramatic music coming up, and he starts backflipping and twisting and fucking jeté. Is that an even word? Right. Okay. So right, I know. And doing all these moves and like, coming up with his gun and, completely believable for Frank, right?
Yeah.
So he finally stands up and then he kicks in his kitchen door, which immediately comes back and smacks him in the face. He then opens it more slowly, and there's Jane wearing one of his polo shirts, and she's got a big cooking fork in a roiling, bubbling, whatever pot, and she's like, what'd she say? I was boiling a roast.
More like a roast.
I was boiling a roast. And she lifts the fork out of the pot,
Oh, God.
and it's this big slab of pink meat, like disgusting,
Gray around
fatty
the edge.
gray,
Yeah.
and the sound effects always make me like a little bit like, because as she's pulling it up out of the water, you hear like the of the. I'm gonna do that again. Shh, hold on, do it again. Of the water, of the water dripping off the fucking big slab of meat, and it just makes me think like just, it's you can't, no, turn it up. I can't. It's so gross sounding to me, but it's like probably one of the funniest things because she's just like, I was boiling meat. How hot and wet do you like it?
This is mine. Very hot and awfully wet.
And what happens after that? Was there? Oh no! Wait a minute. There was the whole scene that when she goes to his place. Well, he goes to his place and he's looking to get a snack.
No, that was after. I thought that was like the next day or something.
Yes.
They have their argument.
Right. Yeah.
They have their little bit of argument.
Okay. Right. So this was like the first time they're getting together.
Yes. And the montage.
And, right. We have the something tells me I'm into something good montage. So, they have this great dinner, big love scene where he pulls off. She's like, "Let me change it to something more comfortable," and she zip, and things fall away, and now she's naked, and he's looking at her so sternly. Pulls the collar on his shirt, and his whole suit just falls off his body. I mean, great physical sight gags.
Oh yeah.
Throughout these movies, all three of them, and then the next thing you know, they're rolling onto a bed, and they're covered head to toe, including reservoir tip, with full body rubbers. Because he said he was like, I want you to know I practice safe sex. I do too. And then you have that. So now that they've sort of consummated their relationship, so to speak, now you have the montage.
Yes.
Right.
Which is
So
a great
talk
montage.
about that. I'll be right back.
Okay. There's a great montage showing them on their first date. It looks like it's all the same day. Cutting back and forth from them at the beach, holding hands, running in slow motion. They go to get a hot dog. He accidentally sprays ketchup all over her. She ends up spraying mustard all over him. They're laughing. They spray the hot dog vendor guy too. Then you see them, people coming out of a theater, looking kind of somber and sad. You see them come out, they're laughing and laughing. The camera pulls back, you look up, Platoon.
Now wait, but
Funny.
for people who don't understand Platoon, Platoon was a film, a Vietnam War era film that was shot in, I don't know, 84, 85,
Right around there.
something like that. It was Willem Dafoe's big movie break. Honest to God, here I've never seen it, so I just know it was a big deal movie. So, and I also know it was a very strong movie, powerful, sad, horrifying, whatever.
Not a comedy.
Not a comedy, exactly. Once again, you've crystallized my thoughts. So everybody's coming out. There it is.
Feeling better.
But there's still like pickles and. Oh, Jesus God. Give me more. So everybody. Is that your chair making the squeaks? Okay. Well, everybody's coming out. Stop laughing because you're laughing. It sounds like you're up in your chair. Yeah. Okay. So,
Only you would think of that, Joe.
only me. So, everybody's coming out of the movie theater horrified, traumatized, and so Frank and Jane walk out laughing.
So to finish up the montage, remember they kept cutting back and forth to them on the beach, holding hands, running in slow motion. And suddenly you see another couple running towards them in a
Clothesline.
clothesline. Very funny again.
I'm so sorry. My allergies are effing with me.
Oh.
Isn't that weird?
Isn't that weird?
I've probably cursed a few times already, and now I'm like, it's effing weird. You know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So, after the montage, the plot thickens, so to speak. I'm pretty sure I just drooled on myself.
Oh. Shoot. Enrico Palazzo.
Hey,
everybody.
it's Enrico Palazzo! Spoiler alert number 2. Alright. Okay. Yeah, okay, I have the rotten food scene. The look. Oh, Wong Woo's. So, Frank comes home one evening, and he's going through his refrigerator to try and find something to eat. Sorry, it's very emotional. And he's pulling out, mayonnaise that says used before 1982.
The milk.
And the milk that comes out basically is cottage cheese. So he's so disgusted, he tosses these things on his counter. Then Jane shows up at his place. And did he say, I was going to get something to eat, or do you feel like getting something
Yeah,
to
would you
eat?
like to have something to eat?
Right,
Something
and
else.
so Jane opens the refrigerator. First opens the freezer, sees
It's all frozen, big
yeah,
block of ice.
it's like there's nothing. So then she opens the refrigerator, and of course, once you've seen the movie and you see it a second or third or 10th time, you know what's coming. So after a few viewings, you could see, like, when she opens the refrigerator, you see the thing sitting there, and of course now you could be like, just the thought of it.
Mhm. Yeah.
So she pulls out the Chinese food container, the little white with the red design, and it's from Wong Woo's. And she looks at it, she goes, Wong Woo's? I thought they went out of business 3 years ago. And Drebin, being Drebin, just takes the thing out of her hand, and he's like, oh, I didn't feel like some Chinese, or I'm not in the mood for Chinese. So he pops open the the thing, the flaps on top of the box, does a big deep breath in, and the look on his face is my Facebook profile video. That's what happens. So if you want the perfect example, there it is. He's cross-eyed. You could just see all of a sudden, and he just boom, just drops, and then again, like George Kennedy, he kind of staggers up, and he's like, he's been traumatized by whatever he just smelled, which is probably like hot, wet Chinatown garbage.
And now it's spilled all over this kitchen floor.
Yeah. It's probably like akin to, after a body decomposes and there's just goo. That's probably what Drebin was smelling. So then he gets that call, right, to go to the Dugout Dogs warehouse for a meeting with Ludwig. That's the information Jane gives him when she shows up at his place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which then leads to Frank thinking that Jane set him up.
Yeah.
Because he goes to the meeting at Dugout Dogs, and here's that henchman. You've seen him in a few movies, whatever. And he's all the way on the other side of this yard, this industrial yard. Drebin! He's calling from up top of the thing. Drebin's down here. I'm Drebin. And Vincent Ludwig says, and he starts shooting. Bang, 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 as he's still talking. So Drebin comes in and says, would you mind not shooting and talking at the same time?
Sorry.
It's hard to hear you. You're right. You good? So it's a silly exchange for a couple minutes, and then Drebin chases the guy inside, and they scuffle for a moment, and then the guy swings and misses at Drebin, and his momentum carries him over the ledge and into a vat of horrifying-looking, disgusting liquid. Soon to be dugout dogs. And there's a very horror movie-esque kind of scene after the guy falls into the vat, where his hand is the only thing you see sticking out of the water, and it's his hand with a ring on it, and as it slowly goes under the surface, you hear that ring, 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 like Psycho music as the hand sinks in. And I'm only telling you about this because it's relevant later in the film. So then, I guess the next scene is there's a party going on for the Queen, the reception. Drebin shows up with fire in his eyes.
Well, after he was told he was being removed from the Queen's case.
Right. And that was...
Oh, wait, no.
Was that Ed? No.
No, I think
He was in there with Ed.
Right, but
when he
I think he goes from the dugout dogs, he goes over there directly. It's when she took him off the case when he did the thing with the concrete dildo.
Yes.
Off the case.
Yeah, that was it. Your presence at the Queen's reception will not be required. And let's just say, this is a perfect place to say it. The mayor in this film was played by Nancy Marchand, who would later go on to play Lydia Soprano on The Sopranos, the matriarch. And it took me forever and a day to put the two together. I said, boy, she looks familiar. Where do I know her? Where do I know her from? And then when it clicked, I was like, holy shit. Now, at the reception, the first thing you see is that big sheet cake, right? With Queen Elizabeth's picture on it.
Yep.
The waiter, who's quickly cutting pieces out of the cake, right? Listen, fellow nerds, especially Soprano fans, the guy cutting the cake is an actor named Paul Schulze, who went on to play Father Phil on The Sopranos. So I thought it was kind of neat, like, you know, whenever The Sopranos started in 90 whatever, if these, you know, if these two actors ever saw each other on the set, they'd be like, oh yeah, we were in The Naked Gun 10 years earlier. Oh, all right, so I thought it was cool. What the, I mean, man. So they're at the reception. Drebin then makes his confrontation with Ludwig and Jane because he felt Jane set him up at the dugout dog's place, which we know isn't true. But this is where they have one of those exchanges where she's honestly trying to, but I didn't. Drebin, being always in Drebin mode, doesn't believe her. Mm-hmm. And he keeps, and every time he would say something about his disbelief, he would add one of those pet names.
That's right.
You know, I find it hard to believe, Lambykins. There was Lambykins, there was Schnooky Lumps. I don't remember.
I remember those two because those are actually from Police Squad, the TV show. That were used in that.
Yes. Oh, Schnooky Lumps, right. It was just a deadpan delivery. And by the way, I faked every orgasm. And then she's, funny face. Yeah.
And he gets too near the trumpets.
He gets too near the trumpets as they make a little fanfare for the Queen. And, you know, they blare right in his ears. And he falls accidentally. And he gets up and he's still dazed. And he sees Ludwig holding a ceremonial war musket, which was going to be a gift. Mm-hmm. And so he's holding it to present it. And to Drebin's regular attitude, as well as now he's sort of wobbly off of that, the horns in his ears, he thinks that here's the attempt, here's the assassination right now. So he charges the Queen, And again, in another indelible image of this film, he lands on top of the Queen and slides all the way down this banquet table. Everybody's screaming and gasping, and you hear glasses shattering and plates and all this other stuff as they're sliding down. And they come to a stop right in camera center. They're both looking forward, and then you have that effect of the whoosh, flash, like a newspaper flash, and there's the headline in black and white with Drebin on the Queen, and then you have subsequent, look in this, every newspaper, it's disgusting what they're doing, and every front page, it's a different picture, and also a different headline. But I love the fact that it's different pictures. He's behind her in one, she's on him in another. So, I thought that was very well done, and that's one of the hallmarks for those movies is the sight gags.
Something you may not catch the first time.
Exactly.
It's like on the door of Police Squad.
Right, where it says police, where you can read it, and then on the other side, it's squad. But it's backwards.
Backwards, like you're coming into the room.
Right.
Yeah.
So, after the mishap with the Queen, it's almost time for this baseball game that apparently is going to be where the Queen is actually going to at least try to be assassinated. I'm not saying the Queen is going to try to assassinate herself, okay?
This is where Ludwig's trying to assassinate.
Right, this would be one of those... oh, damn it. No more Reese's. So, at the baseball field, now mind you, Frank has already been basically kicked off the force, kicked off the detail. I think at one point he gets fired, right? There was something that he gets fired for, and then he's there in the office and he's throwing all this shit in his filing cabinet into a banker's box because he's getting ready to leave, and then he, holds up a cassette tape. Hey, it's the missing evidence in the Kilner case. Well, he was innocent after all. And then Frank, he went to the chair 8 years ago. Well,
and that's when Jane comes in and tells
Right.
him what she overheard.
Right,
It's
right.
a quick plot point, but that's okay.
That's what sort of kicks off the third reel of the movie.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I want to just call attention to, because in my daily life, I probably do that 30 times a day. And it's just a thing in response to something that has just happened. You're responding to, you're not pondering something, you're not saying it with a pause like something more is going to come. It's just a statement. It's one period after it.
It's almost a way to end it because you don't know what to do with what they said or what you just saw.
Right. And usually when Frank would say that, and I actually thought that it was a lot more used through this film, but it wasn't. I did a well count and it was only 2. I think it was just 2. It was 2. But I thought it was more, and I think it's because I use it as my own statement anytime, if somebody's saying something to me that I'm just hearing, I'll just say, well, and that's it. And that's where I got it from.
Yeah, and after when I watched the Police Squad TV show again, it's used at least once, if not several times in each episode. So that's where it came from.
There was a lot more of it in the episodes
Right,
than there was on the regular
So I don't know
movies.
why they didn't work that in more, because that's...
I don't know if that was for the writers and whatever. I don't know if they kind of picked up on it as, here's one of these Drebinisms.
Yeah.
Well, who knows? So we're at the baseball game with Kurt Gowdy, Jim Palmer, Dick Vitale, Dick Enberg, Mel Allen, and of course, Dr. Joyce Brothers. All in the broadcasting booth, and it was just this crazy conglomerate of people. However, Joyce Brothers did make a cameo on one of the early Police Squad episodes as one of the customers in Johnny's shoeshine chair.
Yep.
So I thought it was kind of nice that they brought her back
Yep.
as another sort of cameo role that is just so unexplainably weird.
kind of almost like an Easter egg before
Yeah.
DVDs and
Right.
like that for us. Something
Yeah.
that goes unless you do the series. Oh,
And of course, you know what we can do? Well, there's no way. Huh. Well, during the baseball game, in the announcers area, they're showing bloopers and crazy plays on Angel Vision or whatever. And all the while, Drebin has to figure out a way to search all the players on the team, both teams, because one of the players is the assassin.
of course he doesn't know that he's an assassin.
Frank?
No.
Oh,
the
right,
player,
and the person.
The player doesn't know
Right.
he's an assassin. So
Correct.
It's not like it's easy to.
Right. So that's why Frank has to figure out a way to search everybody. But, you know, before the seventh inning, because that's when seventh inning stretch is when the assassin is going to strike. So Frank first decides to go undercover as the gentleman singing the national anthem at the game.
Keep going. I'll be right back.
And the guy singing the national anthem is, of course, it's Enrico Palazzo, who's an internationally renowned Italian singer. I don't know why I just did a Chicago thing right there. So Enrico Palazzo, he's from Chicago, mostly. Well, so Drebin infiltrates the guest area or whatever, and becomes Enrico Palazzo after he kind of hogties the original Enrico Palazzo. Was that like, who was that? Elmer Fudd does that? I don't know. It's like a mini stroke. So he goes out to the field to try and sing the national anthem. And he did a pretty damn good job of it initially. He just didn't know all the words.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we
I don't know if I'm supposed to be standing for this.
by the twilight's last gleaming, the bright stripes and bright
So Frank was struggling, and people knew about it, but you know they're not gonna. There's nothing they could say really. So they make it through the national anthem, such as it was, and they start playing the game. And all throughout the game, all throughout each player, there's a way. You know, Frank finds a way to pat everybody down, make sure that they might not be carrying any weapons, and of course he's doing it in the vein now of head umpire, because once he barely escaped the Enrico Palazzo thing of singing the anthem, he runs back into the stadium area and he hides. He winds up hiding in, he goes into the umpire's room, knocks out one of the umpires with a baseball bat, and then goes out onto the field like he's the home plate umpire. He's doing all of his searching and all that for each time a player comes up. But the one thing is, or not the one thing, but one of the things about Drebin is that he doesn't know the first thing about baseball, balls and strikes. So that first pitch goes immediately right down the middle, perfect pitch, and there's this moment of silence, and then strike, and the crowd goes crazy. And all of a sudden, Drebin is like superhumanly powered with happiness and giddiness, where he loves calling strikes even before the ball reaches the plate. He gets so carried away with his strike two, and he's doing his dancing and whatever, and he's getting carried away, still searching the players, of course. And that goes on for several innings, and the players certainly are feeling an awkwardness about it, but, you know, he's the umpire, so he's going to be able to do what he wants. So after it gets very close to the seventh inning. Oh, and I made a comment before about that gunfight at the dugout dog place between Drebin and the other guy, and his hand going down into the toxic waste liquid. So while the game is going on in the Queen's reception box, you know, you have the Queen, you have Ludwig, Jane, the mayor, you know, dignitaries, and they're passing hot dogs down the row. You know, people are eating hot dogs. The queen passes one down and gives it to Ludwig. Ludwig takes a bite out of it, and you hear a cling. And he takes it out, and he looks, and he pulls out the gunman's finger with the ring on it. Be like that, you know. So that was the tie-in before. It's to imply that the gunman's finger was used in making dugout dogs. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay? So he spits out the thing, whatever. But of course by now Jane knows that the plan to kill the queen is real. So she's there under protest just to keep up appearances, basically. And the 7th inning stretch finally comes around because, you know, everybody's waiting for that third out, that massive third out to signal the end of the 7th inning, and it's time for the stretch. And so there's a scuffle in the field involving Drebin and all the other umpires. And, you know, Frank is saying he was out, and the other umpires are saying a player was safe, and it was, you know, back and forth. And Drebin, once the assassin is now triggered, by the way, it turns out to be Angels right fielder at the time, Reggie Jackson, number 44, who was also a Yankee back in the Bronx Bomber days, you know, of like the 70s. So he gets triggered. He's the assassin. Nobody saw it coming. He was like the only player that Frank hadn't had a chance to search yet. So there's a gun hidden under one of the bases, and Reggie pulls the base up, reaches in, gets the gun, and utters his only line in the film. Mm-hmm. I must kill the queen. I could have done it. I just don't happen to be a major league ball player. So there's a scene where you kind of see Reggie walking in the background towards the stands, and the action is in the foreground where you know, this big player fight, and the umpires are getting into it, and somewhere in all this is Frank. And then, but you see Reggie walking very robotically across the background, and you also hear Jane screaming for Frank. Frank, it's the right fielder, it's the right fielder. And Reggie is moving that way. Drebin comes out of whatever dog pile he's in, and he takes his mask, his umpire's mask, and he sees that Reggie is approaching the queen's box. Wait a minute. He's not approaching her box. I would like to approach your royal box. How about that, Queenie? Oh, heavens no, I haven't shaved down there in 14 years. I don't know why 14. I don't think the queen actually sounds like that, but, you know. I'm just saying, probably pretty retro down there.
Probably.
She's got the royal bush fro.
So let's get back to the Queen's baseball box.
Have you seen my baseball? Well, you don't want to talk to her. You don't want to talk to her box. Okay, so so Reggie's making his way towards the Queen's reception box, and you kind of see Frank run over, like, you know, out of nowhere, saving the day, and he tackles Reggie. And then, of course, the worst thing possible, the players get involved, and it's a bench clearing brawl because they figure the umpire's going after Reggie. Mm-hmm. So everybody piles on one another, and I always love this part where there's a cut to the queen and whoever else is in the row there in the box. Once that player fight really kicks in, and bodies are flying, and it's, you know, knockdown, drag out, the queen is sitting there looking all very, this is not good. And you hear some guy off camera, but in the stands, goes, kick him in the balls! And you see the queen sit there like, I smell caca, but I don't know where. I just thought it was funny.
It was funny.
To see the reaction that she had was really funny. And so there's this huge pile, and I think at that point, Ludwig clearly sees that Jane is, you know, a good girl and whatever.
Trying to stop him.
So Ludwig grabs her and they start trying to leave. He starts trying to leave.
I still don't know where he hid the Uzi.
Yeah, maybe it was under his chair.
Maybe.
Yeah. So he grabs Jane, and they start going up the stairs, and you hear Jane, Frank, Frank, Frank. And there's a couple of scenes where Ludwig is basically, because it's a dummy,
Yeah.
is or a blow-up doll, and he's just beating people out of the way with Jane, which is great, because in no way, shape, or form were they trying to cover it up that it was a doll.
No, no.
You know, it was just complete. And it's one of those things that, again, they're very well known for. They did it in the Police Squad show. They did it in Airplane, the movie. They did it in Top Secret, where it was just so very obvious in one scene where they were all dancing. Remember with Val Kilmer? And they're swinging. I mean, it's dummies, or dolls, or whatever. But they just don't care, which makes it funny.
Right.
So Frank hears Jane screaming, and he comes out of the big player fight, and he starts running towards Reggie. He tackles, or he does something.
Well, at some point he uses the cuff. Remember?
He uses the cuff, but not until Reggie kind of gets out from under something. And he got out from under players.
Yeah, I thought
other
he got
players,
out
right?
first and he started
and he gets up. So Frank then comes into the rescue with his his cufflinks, which ricochets off of something, misses, and it hits this girl who's way up in the top deck, and it's a heavy woman. She's a big green. I always thought that was a silence. I thought it was a Buffalo Bill thing. Oh, it is. No, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. I'm thinking of Leatherface. That guy, he was Fuck Your Mother, right?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck your mother. No, wait. Fuck you.
Leatherface 3.
Right.
No, fuck.
It wasn't Fuck Your Mother. It was.
Fuck you, mister.
Oh, yeah. Fuck you, Meeker. Right. Yeah, but the green, that was Buffalo Bill. So there's another thing. Thank God you showed up, because this is almost over. Good Christ. Who is it? Hi.
You're so calm tonight. Compared to last night.
Oh, is it?
That's what she's saying.
Oh, well.
Yeah, so a little calmer than last night.
Because it's a different. It's
the Cuban, isn't it?
See. No, it's the Calio, by the way.
Yes.
This Cabo bottle was never touched tonight. Tonight we
just was.
Yeah, well, no. Tonight's sponsor is Calio, CALI-O. Oh. I don't know.
Well, anyway.
All right.
Ricochet,
Right. So this woman falls down, and it's this huge slow motion thing, and Reggie looks up, and the girl lands on Reggie and subdues him. And as soon as that happens, there's a dude in the stands that stands up and put, "Hey, it's Enrico Palazzo!" Because, you remember seeing him from the big Jumbotron. And so everybody starts chanting, "Enrico Palazzo, Enrico Palazzo." And so Frank, you see, grins large as life. "Hey, I did it, yeah." Like, why is he even answering to Enrico Palazzo in the first place? Well, so everybody's screaming, and then the mayor, "That umpire saved the Queen's life." And of course Ed comes to the rescue. "That's not an umpire, Mrs. Mayor." And then Frank, da-da-da-da. I'll give it to you, hang on.
Okay.
The big reveal. We'll get into it here. It's Drebin! So, but there was one more scene where...
Well, the bad guy's still up there, right?
Oh, right. So he still has to confront the guy. And so the problem there is he's now got this little submachine gun pointed at Jane, and so he uses his other cufflink,
Right.
and he's got Jane with the gun, and then Drebin grabs this old lady out of a phone booth. Oh yeah, I could play that game too. So they have this house. I don't think you're gonna shoot her, Ludwig. You're right, Drebin. I'm gonna shoot you. Welcome to your mother here in Transylvania. I don't know why I got to do that. Montalban just brings me instantly to Bela Lugosi.
Well, I would assume you'd head more towards down the Shatner route because of Khan.
Well, okay. I mean, any real Star Trek fan, and I'm sure that there's one or two of you out there that aren't.
There's only one or two people up there.
Son of a bitch. Well, was it better when I was drunk? You don't like me when I'm something else?
I guess we're more boring.
What?
We're more boring tonight.
Is that
Not
my
really.
No, because we're actually trying to
I
talk
don't
about
think-
something.
I don't think we are, but I'm saying
No. Yeah. So yeah, for the true geeks, Ricardo Montalban is Khan from Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, just like the best villain ever. But I won't talk about Star Trek II because
So-
I'll cry.
So anyway, so Frank uses the cufflink
On Reggie,
no, on the second cufflink.
Right. on Ludwig.
Ludwig, yeah.
Great. I'm on a little tape delay, and so
That's okay.
yeah, so he goes
I can edit.
and he does this lovely pirouette and.
Well, then the girl next to him goes, "Oh my God, you shot him." He says,
Oh, right,
he'll
right.
be fine.
Does it? Oh no, he'll be fine. And then he falls over. But it was almost like, a very stylish
Yes.
turn as he plummets, and then he lands. And they make the splat sound, and Drebin and Ed go to the edge, and they look down, and Ed starts to cry. It's terrible. It's terrible. And Frank is comforting him, and then this was one of those looks. Remember the Drebin look
Yep.
that I was telling you about? So he's comforting Ed, who clearly you would think he's just distraught over a horrible death. He goes, "My father went the same way," and Drebin just and then Ludwig down on the ground proceeds to get stomped on by a marching band, rolled over by a bus and a steamroller, and in doing that, triggers his keychain with the beeper on it to trigger the induced sensory hypnosis thing. But now we realize that Jane's watch has a receiver in it, and so now Jane has been programmed to kill Frank, and so there's a very tense standoff.
She kills Frank B.
Yeah, the end. Good night. She and Frank have a very tense standoff, and Frank has to really basically use the power of love to break the spell. He has a little ring as he's shaking it. Go on, take it. It's an honest cop's salary.
Not bad for an honest cop salary.
Right, and you see like it's getting to Priscilla. You could see her faltering, and she's crying a little, and he's getting through. This is our hill, and these are our beans, and she's going, "I must kill Frank Drebin," and then he breaks through, and she drops the gun, and the music comes up, literally,
Yeah.
the big, swelling, and everybody's happy, and everybody's turning to one another and crying and hugging and apologizing. The dog and the postman and
All
the two players, and there was one girl in the foreground turns and kind of wipes a tear from her eye, and everybody's got like a wind machine.
Yeah. And then the baseball players start hugging each other.
Right. And then Jim Palmer and Kurt Gowdy. I'm sorry I yelled at you the other day. I really am. It was just another funny round of.
The power of love.
It is the power of love.
Drebin style.
Drebinized. This is Frank Drebin doing your American Top 40. Number 40. I'm Into Something Good by Herman's Hermits. So it's this wonderful reunion then of the mayor who's reinstating Frank back on the force.
Giving him a promotion.
With a promotion. Ed is there, everybody's happy. And then the mayor says, "Don't thank me, Frank. There's someone else here who wants to thank you." And then here comes, I would love to, Mr. Murderer himself, alleged, not convicted, but did it.
Did you? I guess I never really thought about it.
It was a very long intro.
In the first movie,
Yeah.
Norberg is really, it's just like a long cameo. It's not even a full part. Just those few scenes,
Yeah.
beginning them
Right.
the hospital.
No, he was in it more in the other
In the
movies.
others, he
right.
became much
because
more,
everybody really liked the fact that he would just get the shit kicked out of him, and it would be
He gets hooked to the
the
plot.
right. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they wheel Nordberg into the fucking screen, and everybody's Nordberg, yay, hey.
He's in a wheelchair.
He's in a wheelchair, and he's, hey, buddy, how are you? I can't wait to get back to Police Squad. And I guess it was Jane that, like, after he kind of gives Nordberg a nice big clap on the back, see you soon, buddy, whatever. And you see the wheelchair start going forward, and you see OJ's eyes get big, like, oh dear me, what am happening? And as he kind of goes forward out of screen, and then Jane is like, oh, Frank, pew pew, everybody should have a friend like you. And
wheelchair.
they hug, and then of course they cut, and the wheelchair's going down the steps in the stadium, and you see OJ sitting there and just jiggling all around in the chairs, and then he gets to the bottom, and then it's like patoom, and OJ gets jettisoned out of his chair, and so I don't know, and it's here in my notes, when he gets jettisoned from the wheelchair, you see the air ram, you saw the steam from the air ram, and you think that was intentionally done, or do you think it was a goof that they just never figured would be there?
I thought it was done on purpose. It was much like Jane's as the doll.
So you think it was done on purpose to see the jet
Yes.
itself?
Yes, I could be wrong, but I just watching it makes me laugh harder to see, because it's a fake body in the wheelchair. It's
Right.
down.
Yeah.
It's just something
Because
about
even if you didn't see the air itself, the air cloud, you would still have noticed without a doubt
yeah.
that it's a fake. It's a doll.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so.
Well, I guess let's stop for a second and think about it. Maybe it wasn't on purpose, but they never expected it to be watched so closely.
Maybe not.
Digitally
not.
cleaned up and stuff.
Well, back then it wasn't really so much digital stuff
Right.
happening. I mean, it
so
was.
meaning, okay, no one will really see it. The picture's not clear enough for
Right.
people to see it.
Well, with that, it brings the movie to a close. Jane and Frank are happily ever after. He's back on the force. Everybody's happy, and Police Squad will go on to live another day.
No one went to Statesville Prison.
And no one went to Statesville Prison, which was the official prison of Police Squad. But Statesville Prison comes back with a vengeance in the upcoming film,
Yep.
Naked Gun 2.5, or it's 22 and a half.
22 and a third.
No, 33 and a third. 22 and a half.
22 and a half.
Or maybe it was
No,
2.5. It was 2.5. The Smell of Fear. Dun dun dun. But this brought this first movie to an end, and of course the credits are always fun to watch with them. There's just other little things that are thrown in there to see if you're paying attention. Nothing is cool now, like where they give you a whole scene at the end of the credits now. But that's when whatever. So. So the credits roll, and that's the end of The Naked Gun. And 30 years ago, I think it was December of 1988, December 2 or December 6 or something. I think it was December 2nd.
Yeah, I think
1988. It was released here in the States, and it did fairly well, but it really picked up more viewing, a bigger audience, once it hit home video, and then eventually in the age of DVDs, it just went.
It's probably one of the HBO staples too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For a long time.
So,
And
I think the sequel probably came from the video sales and all that.
sure. Well, the interest was there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the Zucker brothers had done Kentucky Fried Movie. They had done Airplane, Top Secret. So they were a good property. They were a good commodity to have, and it was Paramount had them. And then, of course, after the Naked Gun, the primary players kind of got a lot more recognition. Leslie Nielsen certainly went on and did the other two movies, but then in between those also he did another kind of parody movie called Spy Hard, which was funny. It's certainly not a Naked Gun movie, but it's still funny to watch. Andy Griffith is in it, and a whole lot of other good name
And
characters.
it paired him up with Weird Al Yankovic again, because Weird Al
Right.
did the theme song.
Right, he did, and Weird Al was a recurring character in the three Naked Gun films as well, and so the characters kind of became instant classics. The lines became classics. The different scenes, like the nice beaver and it's a great thing. And Leslie Nielsen said in an interview many years ago, I mean, I think he really sort of embraced Frank Drebin. He liked him. He played him as a likable or lovable dude. I mean, he was just a hard-working man that just wanted no nonsense, truth, justice, and maybe a nice piece of ass once in a while from Jane in the Brown. She goes that way. I think if Elvis wanted it, hey baby, love me tender, and she would just be like, turn me over, and whatever.
Okay.
Hi, are my
And
parents watching?
I was going to say he was Frank Drebin's an all-around good guy, but
He is an all-around good
you
guy.
may have just destroyed that.
No. Frank is he knows what he's doing in the bedroom. He,
Well, the whole ghost thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But that comes later.
It comes later.
So
No,
listen.
just
So you have
teaser, just
so
a
right
teaser.
the teaser. So listen, the other two movies are very funny. They're not the first one, but they're still funny in their own right, and they're definitely worth seeing. Certainly because the characters are very lovable and they're very, very funny to watch. And as many times as I've seen all of the movies, but certainly especially the first one, I quote it all the time. I see it whenever I see it. It's one of those movies where you feel you could probably sit and watch it and still just chill and have a great time watching it. And so it's really a classic, not only for general audiences, because it's still a hugely popular movie. And unfortunately, Leslie died some years ago. George Kennedy just passed away a year or two ago. So obviously the franchise is no longer with us, and hadn't been for a while, even after the third one. I suspect though Leslie was probably getting a little old, and he really couldn't sort of keep that character anymore. But one of the greatest things about Leslie Nielsen, on every interview, he would bring this little device that he kept in his hand, a little plastic and vinyl device, I think, which I some years ago figured out exactly where to get the exact one he had. It was a fart machine, and it would be the kind of thing where he would just kind of sit there and conceal it in his hand, and all you would have to do is squeeze the thing, because it was the top would basically go into this part of your hand, and you'd squeeze a little air, and there would be a tiny hole at the center, and when you would really get a nice good seal here, you would get a nice wet or just a and Leslie would bring these things to interviews, and he would break everybody up. And I thought, here's a guy who really sort of made a name for himself as a comedy actor, as straight-laced as he was playing it, but when Leslie Nielsen would sit down and talk with you, he would be the first one to try and cut you up with something inappropriate, like a hand fart. I mean, it's just that, and he would do it as Drebin and completely ignore it. He would sit and he'd be talking with Katie Couric on the Today Show, and I think the movie has garnered a bunch of success and is certainly a great following, and Katie Couric would be like, what? And he would just sit there and he would kind of smile at her, but he would give her that little glint in his eye that, like, he's a mischievous old man, like a devilish old man. And he was the kind of guy that, like if that was Grandpa, I mean, the fun you would have, right? So This bottle was finished yesterday, and there was nothing to toast Leslie Nielsen with except to say this. He created a great character. He didn't create the character; he brought the character to life. And he was a great Frank Drebin, and I don't see anybody ever doing anything like that again.
So no prequel, Drebin.
Oh,
Beat Cop.
Drebin, the early years.
The Beat Cop.
Right. Frank Drebin will be played by, Ashton Kutcher. And no.
Ugh.
There's only one Naked Gun. There's only one Frank Drebin.
Right.
He did write a book somewhere in those three movies. It was called The Naked Truth. And it was the cover was his face, and he was holding a magnifying glass up to his eye, but it was an eye that was wearing an eye patch. And it said The Naked Truth. And it was just, it's a perfect thing. I have it somewhere in a box. I have to get it now and reread it. Because when it came out, I really didn't appreciate it. The humor, I think. It was still kind of one of those things. Anyway, so this was certainly a different kind of podcast than last night, and it was definitely not as silly, goofy ass, but we had our moments, and we probably missed a bunch of things. Because basically, so... I guess we'll put a pin in tonight, and I'll say also that this wraps up this is our last night here in Newport. It was a fun, quick 48 hours, or however many hours it was. It was fun to kind of get away from certain things in certain places. Oh God, thank you. Why can't it taste like Swedish fish? Fuck my life. And so, but it was good to get away. It was good to hang out with you and do tonight and last night and. This morning we were at the Cliff Walk, and we tooled around Newport, and we had a pretty good time. Tomorrow we'll have breakfast and then hit the road. So I guess these two episodes have been really good. It makes up for that botched one that we did a few months ago. But now we can do it again, and we'll figure out a different way to do it so you get a clean end. Anyway, so for Gerry Touchette, I'm going to sign off from the Newport Harbor Hotel and Marina, room 224, if anybody wants to come here and stay and sort of experience the magical aura, the juju that we'll leave here tonight. Although by the time you get here, it'll probably be crusty. And
just don't look in the bottom drawer.
No, just stay out of the bottom drawer. And the bottle of conditioner that's in the bathroom may or may not be conditioner.
I don't need to use it.
No, because you got the chrome dome. Anyway, I didn't jizz in a bottle, by the way. I just want to set the record straight for the housekeeping people here. Like they're sitting there watching. No, sir, it's okay. Please, it's conditioner. Smell it. You'll see it's conditioner. So from the Jonnyland Live Popcast, this was cool. You know what? If nobody tuned in, you want to do a final check?
Yeah.
See how many people? Yeah, I don't care if I got a couple of people who. I was going to say who dig me, but it's also Saturday night and they're not out.
Kenneth J. Casper Sr. is watching.
Oh, cool. Kenneth, hey, what's up, dude?
Dominic. I swipe down or should I touch it?
Oh, I don't know.
Want her to touch it?
I think... No, don't swipe left or right. You can swipe up, see what happens. Swipe up, whatever. No, not from there. Swipe the text. But, oh, I don't know. Whatever. Look, you're a social media guy. Yeah. No, is there nothing? Oh.
Oh, it does work.
Is there a lot of comments?
Not a lot of comments. Just somebody who's watching.
Oh. See, if you watch, you should comment. Say something. It's like going through viewer mail. What else?
Kenneth J. Casper.
That's the only one watching right now? We just got a one?
No,
How? What does it say up top where next to live?
one.
One! We got one person watching.
It says there's two people watching. Down here?
Yeah? But I thought it was just Kenneth.
No, and Jessica Holby.
Who?
Dominic Holby, sorry.
Oh, okay. Hey, Dominic.
And a little,
Yeah. We're that way.
Yes, there's two people watching.
Yeah.
In color.
In color. From the files of Police Squad. Hey, listen, thanks.
Guest star.
William Shatner, Lauren Green. Thanks for hanging out for a couple of minutes. I'm glad some of y'all had better things to do on your Saturday night. But whatever, this was just fun. We wanted to just see if it would work, and it worked. I had fun tonight. I had fun last night. So we'll say goodnight. And right now it's only almost 9 o'clock, so it's good. We'll take it.
Yeah.
So from the Jonnyland Live remote studios in Newport, Rhode Island, we'll do another episode soon, hopefully. This is Jonny B saying goodnight.
This is Gerry. Thank you for watching.
And I'd like to thank our sponsors once again. Big King Pen. P-E-N, not P-I-N. It's not the Spider-Man villain. Big King Pen. And we're going to give a plug out to the folks at Yoo-Hoo because that shit's still delicious. All right?
All right.
All right. Peace out, Cub Scout. We'll see y'all next time.
See you later.
Bye.
That was fun.
It was fun. You're still hot, though. Okay.
Boy, John.
You can just cut out these last 2 minutes.